Okay. All right. So I just, I'm going to, keep this short because our time is valuable. But what, like, Melissa, what were your favorite takeaways from this call? Like, what really
Mhm.
stood out to you?
Okay. For me, um, like I did that act thing on this one, which I've never done that before. So it was kind of like, okay, I got to really think about what's standing out to me.
Yeah.
So one of the things was how you start your day, being intentional at the beginning of your day. And
Hmm.
that's something that I've known for a while I need to work on. And so that was just sort of like reiterating that for me that, okay, yes, I want to, you know, start my day with more intention and know where I want to go with my day and not just kind of let the day go. Because with the kids and everything that running around with them and stuff, it's easy for me to get distracted and get off track
Hmm.
from what needs to be done, not just with my business, but just everything else, like forgetting appointments or other things. So,
Yeah, I'm glad I'm not the only one.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And then I think the other part was like when he said add value to people and in helping others to see that. And I, of course, for me, thought about my daughter who's 7, like trying to show that, be an example of that for her and kind of talking to her about that. Like her personality is very like sapphire, if you know the gems, and stuff. And so she loves being around people and having fun, but she also loves to be the center of attention.
Hmm.
And so I'm like thinking about that, like how can we add value to someone else's life? How can you uplift someone else? Um, and for me as a pearl, that makes me feel good if I can do that for other people. Like that's what I want to do. So
Right. Yeah.
those things kind of stood out to me and helped me kind of see where I wanted to go.
Yeah, that was my favorite thing about the call too. Well, I actually liked everything about the call. It was just like I couldn't write notes fast enough, but and like underlining and highlighting and exclamation points on everything. But um yeah, I think as coaches, like what the big thing that we do is add value to people's lives. And it was nice having that pointed out because it's something that I try to teach and I try to convey to you guys, and but sometimes I don't know, maybe I don't have the right wording or explaining it just right. But really that's what we do. We add value to people. Social media, like, what is the basis of what we're sharing on Facebook is adding value to people, lifting people up and being their cheerleader and, giving them the tools they need to be successful. All of that adds value to people. And, as you're building your team, like, you need to teach your coaches to do that too. So I think everything he pointed out, for the 5 steps of adding value, um, really is key, I think, to being a successful coach, because, it builds that trust with people. It builds that camaraderie, I think, as a team as well. And, it just, for pearls especially, like, I can really relate to you, Melissa, because I'm a pearl. Like, it just makes you feel good.
Mm-hmm.
I think it takes a lot of the fear of sharing the business away, because I don't see it as selling products. Like, I don't, if I'm trying to explain
Yeah.
to somebody what a coach does, you know, I never explain it to people in ways of like dollars and cents, or I sell a product. This is what I do. I run challenge groups. I help people, reach their goals, and explain it that way, because that's what we do. And the products are just, a ways to to get them there. But that's really not what we do. It's just such a small part of it. So, yeah, having him say that, and, I love that, because that's really what I'm trying to create in my team. And and I hope that you guys want to create that for your teams as well. But, everybody's different, on their vision and what they want to create. But for me, like, that is, the number one thing. I want to build a group of coaches who are supportive and uplifting of not, just each other, but, their team and their challengers as well. So, yeah. And what I also really loved about it was, the I should list. Everybody's got them, I do too. And, things get like placed on the back burner, or, for me, procrastination is a huge thing of mine. I just sometimes there's too much to do in the day, and, I have my list, but sometimes I can't get to everything on my list. So I'm like, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. And then it's like, pretty soon it's like, it's the end of the month. And like, I was supposed to start inviting like last week, and I'm already behind. And it's just like, you get frazzled, and sometimes you're like, well, forget it. I'm not even going to do it now. So really focusing on those I shoulds, and I know it's hard, especially as a new coach, or, a coach who's kind of been doing it for a little while, but still just feel like you haven't like hit the groove yet, especially with, living intentionally and scheduling your day. That can be hard, but having that, make a list, like sit down tonight and make a list of those I shoulds. I should invite more, I should, post more on my like page, or I should talk to people more about what I do, instead of hiding in fear, don't want to share it with people, don't want to be labeled that person, and really just, tackle those things, like even just one thing at a time. Like today or this week, I'm just going to focus on the, my first I should invite more. So let's just focus on that and then move on as that becomes more of a habit. So, Melissa, what, sorry, you're going to be no one else to ask. So, my favorite thing, aside from, adding value to people and living a life of significance, but what are the things that keep you from being intentional with your life? There was the 5: procrastination, distractions, emotions, instant gratification, and then, having, living your life on other people's agendas. Like, what is your number one thing that prevents you from?
Procrastination.
It must be a Pearl thing.
Maybe it is. No. Yeah, definitely. It's that's what it is. And I don't know, like, I always think back, like when I was in school, I was really organized, and I think it was just, obviously things change. But I think, I had school at certain hours. I went to school, and then I would schedule, okay, I'm going to do an hour of math homework and half an hour of, writing this paper or whatever. And then I had dance classes. So those were scheduled out at certain times, and I had to be there and do that. And, I used to, be pretty good at being on time places and stuff. And that has just changed. And I feel like, part of it, I think, is now that I'm at home more. I don't go out to a job.
Yeah.
And so, I think the procrastination of always being in my home and seeing a lot of other things that I could be doing.
Yeah.
And then so I procrastinate things because I don't know why I do it. I just do. Yeah. And then I get distracted.
Yeah.
And then I get emotions because I'm not, because I'm frustrated with myself for being procrastinating, being distracted,
Mm-hmm.
And then, and then I want instant gratification. So I do the thing that I know I can do right away, but might not be the best thing for me to be doing.
Right. Yeah.
All snowballs.
No. And I think, you're not the only one who goes through that. I definitely go through that, and I'm sure, everybody else has, goes through that too, whether it's a step-by-step process or, whatever, it's a snowball effect. But, that absolutely happens to everybody. But I know for me, what really helps is really like, I think once I started legitimately treating this like a business, and it really took me a long time to do that. I really can say, like, honestly, I really started doing that when Jim got back from deployment, and that was just last year in August. That, I really, I was working on it hard through that year up until August, but Jim was gone. So it was easy to kind of just do it here and there because he wasn't home. So, but now that he's home, like, that's just one more thing to put into the mix of, I want to spend time with my husband. So I'm going to have to, and I want to spend time with the kids, and I've got a million other things. So I have to set hours because otherwise I'm not going to get anything accomplished. And so really, like, these are going to be my hours, and this is what I'm going to do during those hours. And I have to do it every single day, even if I don't feel like waking up, even if I don't feel like sending these invites out, or, I don't feel like doing, listening to this team call or doing all these different calls. I'm like, no, it's on my list. This is my job. I have a goal, I have a vision, I have people counting on me, so I'm doing it. And I think once you kind of get into that habit, then it becomes easy. And then it's something you don't even really think about. Like, I wake up in the morning now, I do my personal development, and I instantly, like, I'm checking in with my groups. I'm trying to add value to our team. I'm trying to add value, to my challengers, and thinking of stuff to put on my like page. Like, it's just routine now. I don't really have to think about it. So, I think really, like, setting those hours and holding yourself to it. I mean, there's a reason why you guys have chose to do this training, is because you want to move your business forward. I mean, otherwise you wouldn't invest the money in it. So there's a reason. So what steps do you need to take, to make that happen? Because I think a lot of people will, they'll do all this personal development, they'll do all these trainings, but then they don't actually, like, go out and apply it. And I am 100% guilty of doing that. I did that for a really long time. And I think if you, plug into too many trainings and then don't actually apply it, then it seems overwhelming because you're not getting anywhere, but you feel like you're doing all this stuff, but you're not getting anywhere, So I think, being intentional about applying what you are learning, applying what you're learning from these calls, and not just doing the busy work of listening to the calls and taking notes and then just have those notes sit there. I mean, that doesn't really help you. Actually, like, stepping outside of your comfort zone and going, this is what I need to do. Like, obviously procrastination and getting distracted is a huge problem. So what do I need to do to move past that so that I can be more productive in the same, like, a short amount of time? Because Melissa, I mean, you got kids, you got a busy life, and your kids aren't in school, so they're home, so that makes it even harder. So you really have to be structured with your time. So really being intentional about your time, I think, is a huge thing. And I really think it makes a huge difference in the progression of your business as well. I think those coaches who are able to, set those hours and stick to them and are very, scheduled and intentional with their time are the coaches that do better. Whereas the coaches who just kind of do it when they can and aren't really consistent, those are the ones that, you're going to run into problems. Then you're going to want that instant gratification, but you're not going to get it because you're not being consistent, So I think that's a big thing. Just really sitting down, scheduling your time and doing it. you know?
Yeah. I think one of the things that I feel like what holds me back from that sometimes is maybe the feeling of not knowing my own worth, you know? And so if I don't really value, you know, like we talked about adding value to other people, but then if you don't value yourself really, or, you know, if you have those insecurities, like, you know, am I really doing what's right? Or, you know, do I have any value or whatever? If you don't feel that, which, you know, we all go through some of those times, but then it's hard for you to do the things that are going to move you forward because you don't feel like you're really worthy to be doing it anyway.
Yeah.
Or to get what can come through doing those things.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, yeah, everybody feels that way. I mean, you know, I'm going through this has been a really hard month, and I totally get it. Like, it's hard when you just feel like you have nothing to offer and that people aren't going to care, or that they don't care, you know? And it took me, you know, confidence is a huge thing. And it took me a long time to build that confidence in myself and in this business. Mm-hmm. And I think once I was able to build it up, things are a lot easier. Mm-hmm. You know, you're less afraid to do things. You're less afraid to kind of put yourself out there. But it takes a long time to get there. And I mean, some people are just naturally confident, mm-hmm. you know, and I was not that person. It took me a really long time. And there are times where something happens and it just cuts me to my knees, you know, and I have to like build back that confidence again so that I can put myself out there. Mm-hmm. But it's something that I think you need to work on every day, and just know that I think just knowing what it has done for you and what, like Melissa, like you have a great transformation, you know, your vision and your why for this business is huge. And I think that, you know, just sharing that with people and even sharing your insecurities mm-hmm. with people so many people are going to relate to that, because you are not the only one who feels that way. Yeah. You know, and you know that. Yeah. So share that with people, you know, share your journey in this business, you know, what you're feeling. And, you know, you don't have to say like, I 100% believe in this company, because you're probably at the point now where you don't. And I think a lot of new coaches, and even a lot of coaches who have, you know, built slowly, feel that way. And I did for a really long time. I mean, when I spoke on Kristen's team call a couple months ago, like I remember Summer, you know, she was they were really good friends of ours. I mean, they still are, but, mm-hmm. You know, we were really good friends before all of this. And mm-hmm. just, you know, to see her have success in the business was great. But then when she was like, you know, we're going to do this full time, you know, Chad's going to get out of the military and we're going to just rely on Beachbody. I remember going, that is the stupidest decision. Like, why would you like place all your chips in that, you know, one, you know, it could all fall apart. Mm-hmm. You know, you never know where this company is going to be in a year. Like, that's just so irresponsible. And, you know, the military is so stable. Why would you want to get out? And now, you know, we're almost in the same position. Mm-hmm. And I've seen something amazing that she's built. And I have that belief in it now, because I have been able to build something like that. And I think it really takes that point until you're like, wow, this really does work. That you really start to believe, you have that confidence, and you can really go out there and really start to build. But I think if you don't ever get to that point, it's going to be really hard. It's going to be a real struggle, because you're always going to have that internal struggle, like, this is great, but, you know, this is a good opportunity, and, you know, I don't necessarily feel 100% confident sharing it with people, because what if something goes wrong, or what if they aren't successful with it? And I know that for me is a struggle too, because, you know, I believe in the company. I believe in what it can do because I have experienced it.
Mm-hmm.
And I want my coaches to be able to experience that too, but I can't do it for them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have the tools for you guys, but I can't, you know, sit next to you and type out your invites and press send for you and like make sure you're doing your power hour and make sure you read this book and, you know, make sure you highlight these passages and, you know, make sure you get these takeaways from the call and, you know, make sure you feel this way. I can't do that. Like, that's something that you guys have to go through
Mm-hmm.
to get there,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So, I don't know where I was going with that, but tangent. But I really think, you know, that is a huge part of, you know, being intentional with your life is, you know, having that belief, having that vision and working towards it. Because then it just makes, I think, things easier and things kind of fall into place more. I think it makes you, you know, more resilient, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, okay. So what was your C from last month that you were working on?
Mine was, where is it? Well, I think number was talking about a place where you wake up excited.
Mm-hmm.
And like, and so that goes along with like this one's starting the day with intention, you know, like that's kind of been a theme for me, is wanting to start off on a good foot for the day.
Mm-hmm. And
So I'm still working on that.
what have you been doing to help yourself get to that point?
Well, I've been trying to like focus myself the night before to you know, to not have things be so hectic, but to get myself prepared, kind of look over my calendar and things the night before, what needs to be done. And then just trying to be prepared for the day when, you know, when I wake up, be like, okay, here's the day, we're ready to go.
Yeah.
And I think the hardest thing this past month is just because, you know, I have a 1.5-year-old who doesn't sleep through the night still. Mm-hmm. And that's been a struggle for me.
Yeah.
And so I wake up every morning completely exhausted still. And so I'm trying to still work on my mindset of, instead of when I first wake up saying, I'm so tired, I just want to stay asleep, you know, just like, you know, right now having to kind of force myself to say, all right, here we go. If I get up now and I don't push the snooze button, I'm going to feel better about myself, you know, and I'm going to have more time to get things done before everybody wakes up, you know, but it's still hard when, you know, you could sleep for 3 hours and then you were awake, and then you slept for 2 hours and then you're awake.
Yeah.
So I'm still working on that.
Yeah. And that's hard. You're just kind of in a,
and I know it's not going to last forever.
In your life right now, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Where you have, you know, like mommy brain, where you're just like barely skating by every day. You're like, it's a miracle if I get dressed.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So, yeah, you know what's, I mean, it's been a while since I've had those nights, but I've definitely like been in your shoes, and, you know, I still have nights where, you know, sometimes the kids just, they have nightmares like 3 times a night and they're up, or, you know, my kids now, like if they do have like a nightmare, I've got one who will like kick down the door and like all the lights are on and you're like, God, and then you're like up for the rest of the night because you've got lights on and, you know, you were scared awake. And so, Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
I get that. And I know it would be really hard to wake up like excited to let's conquer the day where you're like, I
Yeah.
want to go to sleep. When's the next nap?
Yeah.
So yeah, so for you, like definitely, yeah, scheduling that time the night before so that you're focused then, because you're probably not going to be focused when you wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
And just, sitting down and going, okay, here's my list. Like, this is what I need to do, and just doing it. And even like sometimes if you have to cut it short, don't be afraid to do that. Don't be afraid, like, oh, I've got to stick to like my 2 hours or, 1 hour, whatever it is. Like, just do what you can, but make sure you focus on the things that are really going to move you forward.
Yeah.
And that's for me, like if I have a hard day or I just feel like I have too much going on, I can't really sit down, to the time that I have scheduled, then I'm going to go, okay, well, I need to focus on sending out my invites, and I need to focus on my challengers. And, my coaches are just going to have to wait until tomorrow because, priority number one is just, moving myself forward. And then, the rest of my time is focused on, moving everybody else forward, because if I'm not moving forward, then nobody's moving forward, So like leading by example is a big thing of mine. Just because I think that's the one thing I can do effectively as a leader is, if I'm doing it, then I think that speaks volumes, so. So what is your change for this month? Being more intentional.
Yes.
With your time.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a good one. So, so you have your plan for that to work on? Okay, good. All right. So, for the rest of you, like I'd love for you to write what your C was for last month and what your C is for this month and what your game plan is to make that happen. And I'd also love to hear, I think a great thing he talked about at the beginning of the call was, writing your own story, like being your own writer, not, living somebody else's story. But I wrote it down. What did he say? I want my life to really matter. You have to lead your life and be intentional. If you accept your life, somebody is writing your story for you. And I love that quote because I think it's so true. Like, there's so many people who are like stuck in the it is what it is little bandwagon. And I'm really surprised. Like, I went to this charity dinner a couple weeks ago and I talked to like 4 people and all of them said that it is what it is. And it made me laugh because I'm like, I was like, it is not, it can't change. Like, why and they were just so like depressed. And I'm like, if you don't like it, like make a change. You have the power to do that. If you're not happy in a situation or you want something to change, you absolutely have the power to do that. So take control of your life and start writing your story because you can do it. I mean, it's not going to be an overnight thing. And, you might get writer's block, but, just, I think accepting your life and, well, this is how it is, I don't believe in. I think you absolutely can change your circumstances. I think you can change your outlook. I think you can change everything. I mean, you have the power to do that. So I think that speaks volumes. All right. So write those. Hopefully this thing will post. And I'd love for you guys to share that stuff in the comments. Okay. Take care.